Good afternoon, students. Welcome to the live lecture of Real Analysis 1. In the last lecture, we have solved some examples of finding the integral value of the function. Okay, the function we have designed here is of this type, of kind of step function, right? It's a kind of step function defined like this, 1 upon 2 raised to n in this range. Okay, we have drawn the sketch, we have drawn the graph also. With this, we have seen that the function is monotonically increasing, and we know every monotonic function is integrable. That's why we can have a guess that the function is integrable. Similarly, here if we observe the points of discontinuity of this given function, the points of discontinuities are 0, 1 by 2, 1 by 2 square and so on. Therefore, if I take these points in a set, this set of discontinuity has only one limit point, and that's why the limit points are finite. Therefore, according to our second theorem, the function is integrable. Then lastly, we were finding the value of the function in the interval 0 to 1. In order to find out this value in the range of 0 to 1, we have found the value of the range 1 upon 2 raised to n to 1. Later, if I take the limit n tends to infinity, this lower limit will become 0. Just we have divided this integration into the convenient parts, and we have found the value that the value of integration is 2 by 3. Similarly, for the function k, we have found the value, the function we have proved to be integrable, and the value is 2k. Why the function is integrable we have written? Because this is the continuous function with only one point of discontinuity. So what is the location for the discontinuity? At which point we have the discontinuity for this given function?
K.
No. At x equal to 0. K is the function value. Correct na? That is
Yes,
at
ma'am.
origin this function is not continuous. That's why it is integrable. Then later by using Riemann sum method, we have found the value. One example I have given for the homework as well. One more example we have proved is whenever we have a non-negative continuous function whose integration is 0, then the function must be 0. This is what geometrically I told you the reason why the function should take a value 0. But mathematically one should prove this, and the proof we have given by assuming there is one point C where the function takes a positive value. As it was a contradictory assumption, somewhere we are going to get the contradiction, and hence the result we have followed, right? Then later we have came to the discussion of first fundamental theorem of calculus. Why I have called this as a fundamental theorem? Because this theorem will give us the relation between derivative and continuity, right? Whenever capital F is integration small f, we were writing capital F dash is equals to small f. But how this operation is going to be performed? Why the reason? What is the reason that these steps are true? These are few questions which we have not studied till now. And this is the theorem which is giving us the answer for all the questions, and which will tells us the relation between integration and derivative, and that's why this is called as first fundamental theorem of calculus. Let us just recall the statement. If f is a bounded and integrable function on closed interval ab, then if the function capital F is defined to be integration of small f from a to x, then our aim is to show that this capital F is continuous. Capital F is continuous means integration small f is always a continuous function. And later, if f is small f is continuous at point P, at point C, then we wanted to show that capital F is derivable at C, and these two values are same. That is, capital F dash of C is equals to f of C. The OR statement I told you already. Now the first two steps to prove enough. In the first step, we will show that the function capital F is continuous, and in the second step, we will show that capital F is derivable at C with this value. Okay, first step we have already completed. In order to show capital F is continuous on closed interval a b, we have tried to check uniform continuity, right now? Uniform continuity we have checked out, and the function is uniformly continuous, hence one can write the function is continuous on the given interval as well. Later, to show that the function capital F is derivable at C and these two values are safe, as we have discussed in the last lecture itself, we were going to use the first principal definition of derivative. This is the first principal definition. This first principal definition we were going to make use of as per our convenience. The second form we were going to use this form. Okay. Now, if I wanted to write this limit for in epsilon delta notation, then how can I write? This is limiting definition, no? Limit format. How can you write it in the epsilon delta notation? whenever you are writing limit x tends to a, f of x equal to f of a, how you are writing its epsilon delta form? Yes, students. Because both will give us the same meaning, no? Either the limiting value of this x tends to a, f of x is f of a, is in epsilon delta notation. How can I write? Whether we were writing mod of fx minus fa less than epsilon whenever. What whenever? Mod of x minus a less than delta. Right now?
Yes, ma'am, right.
And
Okay. So, but actually this mod of x minus a less than delta will give a value of x will tend towards a, and this difference less than epsilon will give you f of x tending towards f of x. Now here we wanted to use this kind of definition but in epsilon delta notation. Therefore what should I prove? Mod of fc minus fd upon c minus d minus f dash of c less than epsilon whenever. What whenever? Mod of c minus d less than delta,
less
right
than
now?
delta.
Less than delta, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Therefore, while proving that the function capital F is derivable at the point C, we were going to make use of this definition. This definition we have derived from first principle definition itself, right? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me
Yes.
continue for the proof. Step 2, I am going to continue. Now the aim is to show that the function capital F is a derivable at the point C. Correct now? Derivable at the point C. With for this it was given that small f is continuous. No? Let small f be continuous. At which point it is given? C. Of this closed interval AB. What is the definition of function continuous at the point C? Epsilon delta definition. For any epsilon greater than 0, there exists delta greater than 0 such that mod of
F of
Of
x
x
minus
minus
f of
x of a. Sorry.
whenever, yes, whenever,
Mod of
mod of
x
x
minus
minus
c.
c less than delta.
Delta.
very good. Okay. Now looking at this point C, and we were going to find the derivative at this point C, no? So for whenever I am writing C, let me just draw the sketch in order to understand. Okay, since C, somewhere here is a point C. Whenever I am saying mod of x minus c less than delta, what does this imply? May I say minus delta less than x minus c less than plus delta. Adding c throughout, is it c minus delta less than x less than c plus delta? That is the value of x lies between the delta neighborhood of the point C. Right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you aware with the what is delta neighborhood? Delta neighborhood means delta distance on both the sides, right now? C plus delta and C minus delta. This is the delta neighborhood of the point C. Then where your point X is going to lie? Whenever your point X is going to lie in the delta neighborhood of the point C, then this fx minus fc is less than epsilon. Now, to prove the derivability of the function capital F at the point C, what I am going to take? I am going to take 2 points nearer to F, nearer to C, one on the left side, let me call S, one point on the right side, let me call it as T. Okay. To show the function capital F is derivable at this point C, what I am going to do? I am going to consider 2 points S and T besides C, one on the left, one on the right. Then we will use this definition, C delta, etc. and etc. Right? So let me just write the definition. What will be the first principal definition if I wanted to prove the derivability at C? This will be Ft minus Fs upon t minus s. What should be my limit at this stage? T minus s tends to 0. Now just look, if this difference t minus c is tending towards 0, this difference we were making 0, means may I say both the points will overlap to the point c itself. T will come from the right to C, S will come from the left to C, and it will overlap at the point C. Therefore, one can say whenever this T minus S tends to 0, we were going to get this is the first principle definition, no? At which point we were getting? At point C we were getting, right now? Is it okay or not? Okay, and we wanted
Yes,
to show
ma'am.
this is nothing but small f of C. Correct now? We wanted to show this derivative value is nothing but small f of c. Therefore, this is what they aim to show actually. Therefore, to prove this result, what we were going to consider? We were going to consider the difference between these two terms in the modulus, and we will show that the difference is less than epsilon. Correct?
Yes,
In
ma'am.
analysis, whenever I wanted to show any a is equal to b, what method we were adopting in analysis? We will consider the difference, we will put it in the modulus, and we will show that it is less than by epsilon. Why? Because whenever we were putting this in the modulus, the quantity on the left side will be non-negative. A non-negative quantity less than by every epsilon positive. What is the only possibility remains? 0, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Which
0.
is going to give you a is equals to b. Therefore, either you can prove directly a equals to b, or you can go for proving this in this analytical way. Mod of a minus b
Okay.
less than delta. Now my aim is to show these two are same. Which two are same? This is equal to this one. Therefore, what I am going to do? I am going to consider the difference of the two within the modulus and show that this modulus is less than by epsilon. Therefore, let me just come to the next page by considering this modulus. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Understood why I am considering like this?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, here I have not written selection of the points. Select 2 points. S and T in C minus delta. I think someone has unmuted their mic. It is creating a disturbance. Please mute yourself. Correct now? This is the way we have chosen S and T. C minus D less than S, S less than or equals to C, C less than or equals to T strictly less than C plus delta. This is the point selection points we have made, so that whenever we consider this increment ratio Ft minus Fs upon T minus S, this T minus S tends to 0 will generate the derivability at the point C. Okay? So we are
Okay, ma'am.
considering Ft minus Fs upon T minus S minus f small f of c, because this is what we wanted to show this to be the derivative. This is the derivative value actually, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let me just write the values. 1 upon t minus s I will take common. What is capital F defined in the statement itself? This is integration, no? Capital F of x is a to x f t dt, right? Then what is f of t? Hello students.
Yes, ma'am.
Due to the
Yes,
poor
ma'am.
internet connection, I left the meeting actually. Let me just restart. And we will finish this theorem only, okay, during today's lecture. Up to this point, I think you heard mod of ft minus fs upon t minus s minus fc we were considering, right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Then later I have just substituted the values. Okay. Integration capital Ft is a to t, fs is a to s minus fc. Then we have cross multiplied by t minus s, and then this fcts fc into t minus s we have written integration s to t. As the integration limits are same, may I combine the integration in one integrand. Is it fx minus fc dx? Okay. Now this t
Yes,
minus s, if I look at the elements we have selected, t minus s always non-negative, no? Because s is less than or equals to t is the relation going to hold. Therefore, we can take this t minus s outside the modulus. And we remains with modulus integration s to t f of x minus f.
मॅम आवाज येत नाही तुमचा.